Do you know that IMG doctors are more likely to be referred to the GMC than the locally trained doctor? And this is due to some reasons. And in this video today, I'm going to be sharing with you some of the reasons that we found for this worrying trend, and also what you as an IMG doctor can do in order to stay on top of this trend. I mean, basically, just to save your head. So, hello, my name is Blessing. I am a doctor working in the UK. I'm a first-year psychiatry trainee, and if today is your first time here, I want to say you're welcome. Feel free to become a part of this community. And so without further ado, let's just get right into the topic of today. So to start with, in 2019, I know that's about 6 years ago, yes, a research was published by the GMC, which actually showed that doctors from minority ethnic groups, which a lot of times usually comprise of IMG doctors or foreign trained medical doctors, are more likely to be referred to the GMC. Some reasons were found because this research was really done in order to find out what exactly was happening in terms of this trend. And some things were actually found which I think is quite concerning. But anyway, I think in this video, as we go ahead in this video, you will understand why I feel a bit concerned, and you also as an IMG doctor should be concerned. From the research that was carried out, it was actually found that one of the reasons why IMG doctors are more likely to get a GMC referral or to be referred to the GMC is because of lack of honest and effective feedback from their superiors or managers. So it was found that some managers are uncomfortable having some difficult conversations with this group of doctors, especially if you're a new doctor here. You need to understand that here people don't like to confront you about issues or bring up issues that they consider could be a difficult conversation, because sometimes they don't want it to be perceived as they are being confrontational, and they don't want it to be perceived as maybe you are being bullied or stuff like that. So for some managers, they just feel the best thing to do is let's avoid the conversation completely. But that is at the risk of this IMG doctor, because not getting adequate feedback even puts that person in a position where they don't even know if what they are doing is entirely right. They don't have access to the right information. They don't know what they are supposed to do right. They don't even know the better way to do things. And so, of course, this person, for personal or for cultural reasons, is trying to avoid this difficult conversation of maybe this doctor is not pulling his weight enough, or maybe they feel this doctor is underperforming, or this doctor is incompetent in one way or the other. And I feel like this is something that I am uncomfortable discussing with this person, but then it's at the expense of that doctor. And so what usually happens is nothing gets done. This doctor doesn't even know that there's an issue, and they just continue until something major happens, and then the next thing, this person gets referred to the GMC for maybe incompetence or something more serious. So the next reason that was found is lack of adequate support for IMG doctors. So I know that anytime you're starting as a new doctor, yes, everybody tells you, oh, there's support for you, we are here to support you in any way you feel you need our help. But sometimes I also think that the level of support, or what is even termed support, is not clearly defined, such that these doctors don't even know what they are supposed to seek help for. And so even though it seems like hypothetically there is support, but these doctors are not able to harness that support that is available, because they're not even aware of how much support they should get. It was found that sometimes these doctors do not get adequate induction, and also some level of support, maybe providing information about certain trust policy or certain practices within the trust is not properly done. And because of that, this doctor definitely lacks information, and as a result of that lack of information, or what we call ignorance, they might end up going about their duty or performing their job in a way that is less than is expected. The third reason that was found is that doctors who work in isolated or segregated roles are more likely to be at risk of being referred to the GMC. And this is entirely true. For example, doctors who maybe their first job in the UK is started in maybe some organization where there isn't so much access to senior mentors or to support or to learning experiences that could help build up their experience or to improve their own learning process within that role. Such doctor may not even know what is right, what they should do and what they should not do, and so that puts them at risk of making errors or doing things in a way that could trigger a referral or a disciplinary action. So another reason that was found is poor organizational team leadership. So it was found that in some workplaces, in some organizations, there could be due to poor leadership within the medical team, it could result in a divisive culture amongst the doctors, such that there is now some level of division. Oh, this person belongs to this and this person is in this category, and all of that they found could be a reason why IMG doctors could be in a disadvantaged position, and by that might lack adequate support and might eventually get referred to the GMC. Now, the fifth reason that was found is scapegoating culture, workplace scapegoating culture. So it was found that in some organizations, in some trusts, when there is an issue or when there is an incident, a lot of times it's more like there's a culture where they are trying to find somebody to blame for whatever has gone wrong, instead of taking it as a learning process. When something goes wrong, sometimes it's not just about picking on a certain individual. Sometimes it's more of a systemic thing, such that if this situation is carefully analyzed, it could be found that there are some issues in various, like, let's say if we want to put it like in a workflow, it could be like at different points of that flow chart, there are some issues where maybe because this thing was not adequately done, or because this was not is not in the right place, that is why this has resulted. And so instead of looking at it in an organizational form and see, okay, what are the factors that contributed to this? Is there anything we could do better? Is there anything we should have done that could have prevented this? Is there anything that we need to do better in order to prevent something like this happening in the future? Instead of taking that posture, they decide to look for someone to blame, somebody who is going to bear the brunt of the incident. And a lot of times it's usually the direct healthcare professionals who were involved in that incident. This is one of the reasons why IMG doctors could get a referral to GMC. Now, the fifth and the final reason is the so-called segregation bias. It was found from this experiment that in some organizations, there's nothing you can really do about it, but there is that segregation. There is the division of people into various groups based on their academic qualifications, sometimes based on their race and ethnicity. And so some persons might get favorable treatment because they belong to certain groups, while other people might be at a disadvantage because they belong to a certain group. Due to that bias of people being in certain groups, or when people are classed into various groups based on various factors, and then based on those groups, it determines if you're going to be in an advantaged position or in a disadvantaged position. So it means that if this was done about 6 years ago and this is 2025 and we still hear some reports of this kind of thing, so it means that maybe not so much has really changed. Now, as an IMG doctor, what should you do? The first thing I would say is, as an IMG doctor, intentionally seek for feedback. Don't just assume that because nobody is saying anything, nobody is making any complaints about you, nobody is coming to you to tell you you're not doing things right, everyone is fine. No, this one was me. I remember my first few months, nobody came to me that I wasn't doing anything right, there was no issue, and I just assumed in my mind that, oh, all is well, that I was fine, until my 4th month, and then there was a barrage of complaints, and in my mind I was like, okay, where is this coming from? And it actually shook me. Like, yeah, it was a really difficult time for me, because it was difficult. It was a really difficult time for me because I felt I was doing okay. I thought I was doing all right, and then suddenly I moved from doing all right to like having a lot of issues. And so one thing is, as an IMG, nobody might really walk up to you and tell you, oh, you are not doing this well, I feel you could have done this better, maybe you should do it this way. People might not really come to you if they feel you have not done something well. Some persons might be more comfortable maybe reporting you to your supervisor, but they might not come to you to call your attention to it. And that's because a lot of times people tend to avoid such difficult conversation. Sometimes it's actually not a difficult conversation, it's just because they are not sure they have that relationship with you. And for some persons, they just feel, okay, maybe I don't know you so well enough, maybe, okay, you're not as friendly as I expect you to be, and so I don't feel comfortable coming to talk to you about your work or anything. So that could be the situation. So that's why it will be better if you intentionally seek for feedback, especially from the people you work with directly, in a very nice way, especially when if you have the opportunity of being in a nice relaxed environment, when things are calm and it's not like there are jobs to chase, especially in a relaxed environment, you could, in a way that is appropriate, friendly, and even jokingly, just find out what people think about your work. And also intentionally try to be friendly in your workplace, because some persons might not be comfortable having such difficult conversations with you, but if they know that there's somebody you're friendly to, they might be willing to speak to that person and believe that that person will be able to communicate it to you. But then if you're in a place where you're not friendly with anyone, then it makes it very difficult for anyone to really come to you to talk to you about anything. So what I'm saying is, don't just sit and assume that people will just bring feedback to you. Like, be intentional, be proactive, try to get feedback when you do something. Don't wait until your portfolio, when it's time to fill your portfolio. Get feedbacks from people, get feedbacks from nurses, from healthcare assistants, from anyone you directly work with. Just find out, oh, what do you think about this? Sometimes you can even discuss your plan like your treatment plan with another person, just to get their opinion, just to make them more comfortable around you and more comfortable to talk to you in terms of when it relates to clinical and professional stuff. Now, the number 2 is, in order to avoid being caught in some really difficult situation, I would say, as an IMG doctor, if it's possible, please avoid locum jobs for the first few months that you are in the NHS. I would say, okay, like, settle down in the UK, understand the system, try to understand the work culture, try to understand the work psychology. Yes, like people's psychology around work, around IMG. And when you get to a new workplace, first try to understand how things work, settle into your role. I know what I'm saying seems like it might be like a really long time. How long is it going to take me to figure out how this works? But I just feel like it gives you a good idea of how the NHS works. So if you're able to understand how the NHS works, then you might begin to start doing some locum. Now, you can do locum in your trust because it's still like the same jobs you do, but please avoid locums in trust that you are not working in. Don't just wake up because there is a bank shift that is being advertised somewhere and then you just go there, take it up. You could get into serious trouble because you don't understand the processes in that trust. You don't understand how things are done in that trust. It might be slightly different from how things are done in your trust. Don't take up locum shift in specialties or departments where you don't have experience. It could just land you in trouble. Yes, you might be an SHO. It's just like being an SHO in maybe medicine, and then you're trying to take up a locum shift in obs and gynae. Even though it's possible that maybe from the country where you're coming from your home country, it's possible you have some obs and gynae experience. But if you don't have obs and gynae experience in the UK, please don't take up such job. Just stick to specialties where you actually have the experience, so that you don't get involved in incidences that could warrant a referral. So another thing is, when you are starting a new role and you realize that there isn't so much support for you in that role, especially in terms of seniors, maybe people that you can easily refer to when you need to make a clinical decision, or when you're not sure what to do. If you're not sure that you have such people in place, if you're not sure that there's adequate support for you, especially as an IMG, then I think it's important that it's either you find a way to raise it such that they will understand that you're struggling. But if you try to do that and nothing is done, I will advise you that I think you should start seeking for a job in another place. You don't have to wait until things get bad before you realize that you shouldn't be in that position, because as an IMG doctor, you need a whole lot of support, especially in your first few months. You need a lot of support. You will need to ask a lot of questions. You will need to be put through a lot of things. You will need support. Your clinical decision, a lot of things, you need a whole lot of support. And if you find yourself in a place where that is not available, that is a red flag. And I think you should try rounding off your contract there and start seeking for a job in another facility where you think you might be able to get better support. Now, the fourth thing is, if you end up realizing after getting a job that that place is a toxic place, yes, because some workplaces are actually toxic workplaces, especially if you see that there is a whole level of segregation and you feel like you're in a disadvantaged position, especially compared to some other groups of doctors, maybe because of your race or because of your qualification or for any reason whatsoever, and you feel like you're disadvantaged, then I think that you should find your way out of that place. Because I think I know a few people that have been in such situation and they didn't take a step on time and it resulted in issues like being referred. And even though after everything, it wasn't any serious thing that, like, it wasn't like they got a major disciplinary action, but then that period, going through that period of referral and all of that was so tough. And I'm like, there's no need going through all of that. If it's possible to leave that job as soon as possible, then why put yourself through all of that stress? So I think these are like the few things that I have to say. I'm sure that there are some other things that could also be helpful, but then I'm very the reason I'm doing this video is just to create awareness for people to know that as an IMG doctor, as a doctor from a minority ethnic group, you are more likely at risk to be referred to GMC than other categories of doctors. And so it's just better to be well informed and to be on high alert. And by the time you begin to notice any red flags, I think it should be a sign for you to get yourself out of that environment, especially if you're not sure that there's so much you can do to bring change to that work culture or whatever is making you disadvantaged. So this is where I'm going to be ending this video. Feel free to share your thoughts. Have you been involved in any of these things? Have you experienced any of these things I have raised in this video? Feel free to actually share your thoughts. What was the experience like, and was there anyone you were able to create or make a change in any way, or what steps did you take when you found yourself in these situations? So this is where I'm going to be ending this video. Don't forget to like, to comment, to share, and also subscribe to this channel. Until I see you again, take care. Bye.